My name is Sarah Collins. I'm 32 years old. 3 months ago, I watched my own family smile as they destroyed my life. They stole everything I had worked for. They lied to my face. They celebrated while I cried. But they forgot one thing. I knew a secret that could take everything back. And when the truth finally came out, the same people who laughed at me were begging for mercy. If you have ever been betrayed by the people you trusted most, stay with me until the end, because what happened next still feels unbelievable. Growing up, everyone said family was forever. My parents repeated those words almost every day. My older brother Daniel was the favorite child. He could do no wrong. If he forgot to do his chores, it was because he was tired. If he got bad grades, it was because the teacher was unfair. If I made one tiny mistake, I heard about it for weeks. I learned very young that I had to earn love. Daniel simply received it. Instead of complaining, I worked harder. I studied late into the night. I took extra shifts after college. I saved every dollar I could. While my friends traveled and bought new cars, I lived in a tiny apartment with old furniture and second-hand clothes. After years of saving, I opened my dream business. It was a small bakery on the corner of a busy street. The first few months were difficult. Some days only 3 customers walked through the door. I wondered if I had made the biggest mistake of my life. Then everything changed. One local food blogger visited my bakery. She posted pictures of my cakes and homemade bread online. Within days, people were lining up outside the shop every morning. I worked 16 hours a day. My hands hurt constantly. My feet felt like they were on fire. But I loved every second because the business was finally growing. For the first time in my life, I felt proud of myself. That was when Daniel suddenly became interested in me. He started visiting the bakery every weekend. He brought coffee. He complimented my recipes. He even hugged me, something he almost never did before. "You've done really well," he told me one afternoon. Those words meant more than they should have. Maybe I thought my brother had finally changed. A few weeks later, my parents came to visit too. My mother looked around the bakery with tears in her eyes. "We're so proud of you," she said. I smiled so hard my cheeks hurt. For years I had waited to hear those words. Then Daniel made me an offer. "You can't keep doing everything yourself," he said. "You're exhausted. Let me help you manage the business. You bake. I'll handle the paperwork." It sounded reasonable. I trusted him. That decision almost ruined my life. At first, everything seemed perfect. Daniel organized invoices, paid suppliers, answered business emails, and even negotiated with delivery companies. Profits kept increasing. Customers loved us. I believed we were finally becoming the family I had always dreamed about. One evening Daniel suggested something else. "You should protect the business," he explained. "If anything happens to you, legal paperwork can become a nightmare. Let's update some ownership documents." I didn't understand business law very well, but he already had papers prepared. He told me they were simple administrative forms. He even pointed where I should sign. I barely read them. I signed. That was the biggest mistake of my life. 3 months later, I walked into my own bakery and found the locks changed. At first I thought someone had made a mistake. I called Daniel. No answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. Confused, I drove to my parents' house. When I walked inside, everyone was sitting around the dining table. Daniel. Dad. Even Daniel's wife. Nobody looked surprised to see me. Instead, they looked uncomfortable. "What happened to my bakery?" I asked. Daniel leaned back in his chair. "Our bakery," he corrected. I laughed because I thought he was joking. "I'm serious." "So am I." My father slowly pushed a folder across the table. "You signed ownership transfer documents," he said quietly. My hands started shaking. I opened the folder. Every page carried my signature. Every page transferred majority ownership of the bakery to Daniel. I couldn't breathe. "There has to be some mistake." "There isn't," Daniel replied. "You lied to me. You should have read what you signed." The room became completely silent. I looked at my mother. She avoided my eyes. I looked at my father. He stared at the table. Nobody defended me. Nobody apologized. Daniel smiled. I've always been better at business than you. My voice cracked. I built that bakery. He shrugged. And now it's mine. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath my feet. Everything I had sacrificed. Every sleepless night. Every dollar I had saved. Gone. Not because of strangers. Because of my own family. I left the house crying so hard I could barely see the road. For 2 weeks I ignored every phone call. Every text message. Every knock on my apartment door. I believed my life was over. Then something happened that changed everything. I found an old metal box while cleaning my closet. Inside were years of business records. Original receipts. Early contracts. Emails I had printed. And one small flash drive I had completely forgotten about. At first it seemed unimportant. Then I remembered exactly what was stored on it. Months before Daniel joined the bakery, I had installed security cameras in my office after cash disappeared from the register. The cameras recorded everything, including conversations. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop. Hundreds of old recordings appeared. Most were boring. Employees cleaning. Deliveries arriving. Me working late at night. Then I opened one recording from 6 months earlier. Daniel was sitting alone in my office. He didn't know the cameras recorded audio. His phone was on speaker. A woman asked, "Are you sure she'll sign?" Daniel laughed. "Sarah trusts me more than anyone." What if she reads the documents? She won't. And after that? We take the business, kick her out, and she'll never recover. I froze. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear the rest. Daniel kept laughing. "So easy," he said. "She's been desperate for family approval her whole life." Tears rolled down my face. Not because I was hurt anymore. Because for the first time, I had proof. Real proof. And Daniel had no idea it still existed. That was the moment I stopped feeling like a victim. That was the moment I started making a plan. I didn't sleep that night. I watched the recording again. Then again. Every time Daniel laughed, my anger grew stronger. For weeks, I had blamed myself. I believed I had been stupid, careless, naive. But now I understood something different. This wasn't a mistake. It was a carefully planned betrayal. Daniel never wanted to help me. He wanted to steal everything I had built. I made 3 copies of the recording. One stayed on my laptop. One went onto another flash drive. One I uploaded to cloud storage. If anything happened to one copy, the others would still exist. The next morning, I called a lawyer. His name was Michael Reeves. He listened quietly while I explained everything. When I played the recording, he didn't interrupt. After it ended, he leaned back in his chair. "Sarah," he said, "this changes everything." I looked at him hopefully. "Really?" He nodded. "If these documents were signed through fraud and deception, the court can cancel them." For the first time in weeks, I smiled. "But," he continued, "we need more evidence." I was ready. For the next month, I became someone my family never expected. I acted broken. I ignored the bakery. I stayed quiet. Whenever Daniel texted me, I replied politely, "I'm trying to move on. I hope the business does well. I don't want any more arguments." Daniel believed every word. He thought he had won. While he celebrated, I started collecting proof. Former employees called me after hearing rumors. One baker admitted Daniel had been secretly removing cash from the business account. Another employee showed me messages where Daniel ordered cheaper ingredients while telling customers everything was still homemade. One supplier confessed Daniel hadn't paid several invoices. The bakery's reputation was already beginning to fall apart. Customers complained online. The bread wasn't fresh anymore. The cakes looked rushed. Reviews that once gave 5 stars now gave 1. Daniel blamed everyone except himself. Then something unexpected happened. My mother came to visit. She looked tired, older. She stood outside my apartment holding a small bag of groceries. "I made your favorite soup." I almost closed the door. Instead, I stepped aside. She sat quietly in my kitchen. After several minutes, she whispered, "I didn't know Daniel planned all of this." I looked directly into her eyes. "Did you stop him?" She didn't answer. "Did you tell me the truth?" Silence. "Did you warn me before I signed?" Her tears started falling. I was afraid. I nodded slowly. You weren't afraid for me. She lowered her head. You were afraid of upsetting your favorite son. She cried harder. I've made mistakes. I stood up. So have I. She looked hopeful. I trusted this family. She left without finishing the soup. For the first time in her life, she understood what it felt like to lose me. Another 2 weeks passed. Our lawyer filed the lawsuit. Daniel received the court papers on a Friday morning. He called me 17 times. I answered on the 18th. You actually hired a lawyer? He shouted. Yes. You don't have any proof. I smiled. You'll find out soon enough. He laughed. Court costs money. I know. You'll lose. We'll see. He hung up. 3 days later, my father called. His voice sounded different. More nervous than I had ever heard. Can we talk? We are talking. Please don't do this. I didn't start this. It's family. I laughed bitterly. Family doesn't steal from each other. He had no answer. The court date finally arrived. I wore the same navy blue suit I had worn when opening my bakery. It reminded me why I was there. Not for revenge. For justice. Daniel walked into the courtroom smiling confidently. He even winked at me. His lawyer looked relaxed. They believed this would be easy. The judge reviewed the documents first. Everything appeared legal. Signed, witnessed. Official. Daniel looked almost bored. Then my lawyer stood. Your Honor, he said calmly. We would like to present evidence showing these signatures were obtained through deliberate fraud. He connected a laptop to the courtroom screen. Daniel frowned. The video began. There he was. Sitting in my office. Laughing. Planning. Bragging. We take the business, kick her out, and she'll never recover. The courtroom became completely silent. Daniel's smile disappeared. His lawyer stared at him. The judge watched every second without blinking. When the recording ended, nobody spoke. Finally, the judge looked directly at Daniel. Is that your voice? Daniel swallowed. His lawyer whispered urgently. Daniel closed his eyes. Yes. The judge's expression hardened. So you knowingly deceived your sister into signing ownership documents. Daniel tried to explain. It wasn't like that. It sounds exactly like that. His own words had destroyed him. Over the next several hours, former employees testified. Suppliers testified. Financial records were presented. Each piece of evidence made the truth clearer. Daniel hadn't simply stolen the bakery. He had mismanaged it. Hidden money. Ignored debts. Misled customers. By the end of the hearing, even his own lawyer looked defeated. The judge announced that the ownership transfer had been obtained through fraud. The documents were cancelled. Full ownership of the bakery was returned to me. Daniel was ordered to pay legal costs and additional financial damages. I closed my eyes for a moment. After months of pain, it was finally over. As everyone left the courtroom, Daniel walked toward me. His face was pale. This didn't have to happen. I looked at him quietly. No, it didn't. You could have been my brother. Instead, you chose to become my enemy. I walked away without looking back. Outside the courthouse, the sun felt warmer than it had in months. When I reopened my bakery, hundreds of loyal customers returned. Many had followed the story. They wanted to support me. Business became stronger than ever. People said they admired my courage. But they didn't know the truth. I wasn't brave because I never cried. I cried every single day. I was brave because I kept moving forward anyway. 6 months later, my parents came to the bakery together. There were no excuses this time. No lies. Only regret. My father quietly said, "We chose the wrong child." I shook my head. You didn't choose the wrong child. You refused to see the right one. I wished them well. Then I returned to serving my customers.